So, welcome everyone to our monthly Goleta Regional Action Plan meeting, where we discuss the impact of homelessness in the city of Goleta. My name is Landon Rank. I'm the Associate Director with SBX, and I'm joined by my colleague Kai Roldan. Um, and then also, this is a partnership with the city of Goleta, and so Chuck Flax is here as the city's homelessness services coordinator. So I'm going to start with just a few general announcements, and then we'll get into a little more specifics on what's going on related to homelessness in the city. So I'm going to share my screen with just a few date reminders coming up. Number one is the Homelessness Issues Standing Committee meeting is coming up next week. As far as I know, that hasn't changed. Chuck or Joanne, does one of you want to share what to expect at that meeting?
Yeah, it's kind of an important meeting, and I'm sending out a lot of reminders to local Goleta residents because we're going to be talking about kind of the next steps in Goleta's kind of getting policy direction from the committee, and then direction about whether we want to make some significant changes. So on the agenda will be an update on Goleta's activities, and as we enter a new budget cycle, a 2-year budget cycle, we're also going to be talking about amending potentially our safe parking ordinance in light of possible expansion of safe parking in Goleta. And then there'll be a conversation about Goleta's encampment strategy given changes that happened at the Supreme Court back in June that allow for cities to decide how they want to enforce laws that are on the books. And we have gotten quite a few responses from the community, really about one particular encampment. But the language that was in a lot of these requests was, the city should really be enforcing the laws that are on the books about people sleeping in public spaces and making encampments. And, should our current policy, just to remind everybody, is that we do not clear occupied encampments on public property with the exception of Elwood Mesa and Lake Los Caneros. So there are some other parcels within the city that people are, either occupying or sometimes using as hangouts. And so those are the places that we've gotten responses from members of the community requesting that we do something about it. And there's concern about fire danger, et cetera. So that's going to be really the focus of the meeting. I don't know if you caught me a little flat-footed. I'm pretty sure I covered all the agenda items, but I wanted to ask Joanne if there's something I've forgotten.
No, I think Chuck addressed it all. The Homelessness Issues Standing Committee is an advisory body to staff and to council. So after the outcome of that meeting, we've had a lot of public communications coming in about some people sleeping in on city-owned property and us not clearing them because has not been our practice. So it's going to be an exciting meeting. Chuck has a report on all of the things associated to this meeting, and it's over 10 pages. So you can imagine lots of discussions around everything as including as we're looking towards efforts on behalf of the city moving into the next fiscal year.
And something we're teeing up is that every year in the first quarter of the calendar year, we're going to do a homeless issues standing committee that's very rich on policy. The next meeting is going to be focused on the city grants program. So, and then the meeting after that will be focused on kind of an evaluation of where we have been in our work. So this is an opportunity for the public also to weigh in. And so we're going to be having it in City Hall. In the council chambers. And I'll be actually sending out some reminders to people who've contacted me personally, but then check your email for the city always makes announcements about these sorts of events as well.
And then just to tag team with Chuck, this is also the first time we're going to be talking to the committee about really budgeting for the strategic plan update for the homelessness strategic plan. So kind of dropping that bug in their ear. I think we kind of toyed with it back in August, but this time it's very blunt, it's in our work plan for the next couple of years. So some big investments in this area.
Thank you both. So we encourage you to join us on March 6th at 4 p.m. in the City Council chambers. We'll send out an email reminder as well to the email list that we have.
Fantastic.
I'm going to skip this middle bullet point because we're going to talk about it on the next slide. But just a reminder then, our next meeting of this group will be 4 weeks from today on March 24th at noon. I am currently working with Chuck on potentially some new ways to try and do outreach to community members and businesses because we've had lower attendance at these like monthly community-oriented meetings. So we may have a shifting schedule in the coming months, but for now we're going to keep this structure until we have sort of assessed what's going to work best. So regarding that middle event, I just wanted to remind everyone, the city of Goleta is a part of this broader, is a part of multiple large homelessness bodies in our county. There is a county-wide continuum of care addressing homelessness, but also there is a South County focused coalition, the Act on Homelessness Collaborative. And that's something that SB Act is helping to just facilitate. And so you can see all the different partner agencies. We have the cities of Carpinteria, Goleta, and Santa Barbara, as well as the county, lots of government agencies, nonprofits, businesses, philanthropic partners, and we have some people who have experienced homelessness. They're a part of this as well. And so this South County Focus Coalition is really trying to address homelessness issues throughout the whole region because we know that people experiencing homelessness move from Goleta to Santa Barbara and from Carpinteria to Goleta on any given day. And so we have to actually all really work together to address the issues. So I say all that just to let you know that that exists and to say that we are launching a new 3-year strategic plan for the South County region. This is separate from just the city-specific strategic plan. But we are going to have a South County-wide 3-year strategic plan launch event on Monday, March 10th. So 2 weeks from today, at this time at noon, at the Faulkner Gallery at the Santa Barbara Public Library. I'm going to put the RSVP link in the chat window, but we encourage you to join us on your lunch break as you're able, just to get a little bit more informed about what all is being done throughout the region, what we're aiming toward in the whole region, and then ways that you can get involved too. Homelessness is very much an issue that requires all the different members of the community to help us to address it. So we just want to make sure everybody's aware of kind of what next steps we're all taking together. So do you have anything you wanted to share about this as well? And it's okay if not, I'm putting you on the spot.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Yes. No, I encourage everyone on this call to pay attention to this. So SB Act has been, go back to that last slide, Lennon. No, the one, yeah. This is remarkable to me. SB Act has been trying to develop itself as a backbone organization for a number of years that predates Landon. And what this shows to me is that you can't do something like that overnight just by saying you want to do it. It's something that you develop over time by building trust with the different organizations, with the different cities, with the different service providers. And this wheel, I'm just very impressed with it, represents the work that SB Act is doing and gives everybody here a platform to be talking about ways we can impact homelessness. I mean, some of the things that we hear, and I'm preaching to the choir, but some of the things we hear from the public is, oh, we spend all this money on homelessness and nothing happens. And we're here really to tell that story of what does happen, what's actually working, how we're getting people into housing, how we're getting people out of encampments and into services. And you all, many of you on this call are the front lines of this. And SB Act serves as a hub, and we're all the spokes of this wheel to build that future. And so now you can go forward, Landon. The planning process that they're doing, I've been very impressed with because they started, again, it was a building process. They started with a 1-year plan, and now we're moving to a 3-year plan. And it's getting us all rowing in the same direction. It's taken 10 years. And thank you, Landon, for this.
Thank you, Chuck. So yeah, I put that registration link in the chat window, but we would love for as many of you to be there as can. Really, our target audience is the general community. Some of us are in homeless services. We already kind of know what's going on in the day to day, but we really want to educate the general public about sort of what we're hoping for here. So I encourage you, if you can, register and join us in 2 weeks at the Faulkner Gallery. We have a few other things to check in about, but I do want to actually, so while we have Lupe from Union Pacific Railroads on the call, I wanted to give her a platform for just a few minutes to share about some of the work they're doing to address homelessness issues on the railroad properties locally.
Thank you, Landon. Really quickly, I know it's been crazy. I mean, we're going from fire, water to hotter than hot. So all of a sudden, a number of things are happening. But we are working on fixing that fence with much more sturdier material at Goleta. It was unfortunately replaced, but the material wasn't strong enough. People cut right through what was replaced there. So I know our staff is going back. I don't have an update as to when. I understood we do it by the end of February, which means to me by Friday. But I need to confirm that to make sure that that's being done. I know I get.
This is Elwood. Just sorry to interrupt you.
Elwood.
This is
Yes.
this is Elwood Station Road,
Yes.
north of Hollister.
Mhm.
Right. And let's see. I'm trying to think. I know I get reports on people riding their bikes. Well, motorbikes of some sort. I will share with all of you in Northern California, I just had a fatality of someone riding their bike. That's why we don't want them riding their bikes anywhere on our property. But I know it's sometimes hard to catch these folks. Obviously, if they're on a motorbike, I'll get a report. I call our UP police, but obviously there's a time delay sometimes in getting out there. I don't know if the city of Goleta has any interest in doing a letter of agreement with UP police, which allows people to go onto property just for trespasser removal, not for cleanups. But that I always offer cities or agency. Well, it has to be the county sheriffs or the city PD. It can't be, it's one or the other, right? That have, and all the letter is, it's not a financial letter. It's not a policy. It's permission to be on property for trespasser removal. I know a lot of cities have that with private entities, but for us, the FRA can come onto property anytime, the Federal Railroad Administration, and they will ask, do you have permission to be here? If not, can fine you, and that we don't want anyone being fined. So it's just a simple letter of agreement. We have it with like LA sheriffs. We have it with a number of cities. It's a tool in the toolbox. That's how I refer to it, because it's not perfect. You have other priorities, we understand, but it's a tool. It's a tool to have it. And that's kind of worked out well because they may be able to get there sooner than we can for the most part, which is mostly the case 99.9% of the time. So I just mentioned that because I don't think I have one. I don't think I have one with sheriffs, and I don't think I have one. I think I have one in the city of Santa Barbara. That I do, but I don't think I have one. So it's just a tool.
We were under the impression we did have one.
Okay.
Lupe, what do we need to do? Because I know the sheriff, Connor's shaking his head. I know that the sheriffs are eager to have that, and we already thought it was in place.
Let me get you a copy of a letter. Great. And again, it's all it is. It holds us each other harmless. Like, if a deputy trips and falls, they're not going to sue us. I mean, it's not. It's just, again, it's trying to keep us away from liability issues. But again, just for the trespasser removal. So I will double check. I don't think Goleta was on there, but I will double check that letter. And we can actually just prepare the letter and send it to you. We will be that efficient about it. And
so
again,
in the case, so what you're proposing or what you're saying is that if our law enforcement sees somebody in the right of way,
right,
would this letter give them the authority to remove them?
Yes. Yes, go onto property. You have permission. And it's police agency to police agency. So it's from our police people to yours. In California, we have peace officer status granted to us by the governor. So it's just a permission, basically, to go on for trespasser removal only. And it's very clear that it's for trespasser removal. Obviously, because police can always go on when they're chasing a suspect or, those normal. But this one is more focused on trespassing and people that shouldn't be there on the right of way.
So, I mean, this is what you're saying has a pretty big impact. There's about, I want to say 30 or so current encampments on the Union Pacific right of way currently.
Okay.
And that our outreach people are aware of them, have worked with the people in those encampments. But sheriffs have not been given the authority to move people. And so if you're actually saying that this letter would allow for clearing of people out of those encampments,
right.
That's a huge policy change that, I mean, I know that everyone has been talking about for many years. So that's pretty exciting. Right. I wish we had immediate shelter cleanup and housing. The cleanup is secondary to some extent. It's, these people are in danger. They're endangering themselves or endangering the community.
Yes. Agreed.
And so, I wish we had more shelter to move them to, but I also want to get them out of harm's way, and for both our sake and for the community's sake, and also for their sake.
Right.
So more to come on that. Thank you for that, Lupe. And will you send us the format for that?
I will. Great. And Chuck, just so you know, and this shocks people because I continually tell people in California, now mind you, I have Amtrak that runs on me. I have Metrolink in Southern California. I have Caltrain in Northern. About every 72 hours, I have a fatality notice in California. Only on my property, by the way. Now, mind you, it's kind of stretched out now to people not necessarily train related now, because we have people that have expired because of drugs. Overdoses. But we're like the first or the second place. Texas and us are always, in that terrible position of having fatalities occur on too frequent of a situation. I mean, just should not be. And so, I mentioned that because people are always shocked by that. And yet, I get the notices for all the state of California. I may not always know if they're homeless or what the situation was, if they have other situations, obviously, that they're dealing with, but still, they shouldn't be there. They don't, they shouldn't be there because it does put them in harm's way. And like I said, the fatality with the biker, it was a mini bike kind of situation up north. Didn't hear the train, did not hear the train. And, I have also people using headsets that have, unfortunately, wonderful equipment on those headsets that, that diminishes any outside noise, which is a real problem when you're on the tracks, and it's Amtrak, who is not going to be able to stop on the dime, just like our freight, but it's going at a higher speed than freight. So it still can't stop. But, that would be great. So let me get that over to you.
Thank you, Lupe.
Okay. And that's it for me. Sorry. Go ahead. Questions?
No, that's great. Yeah. Real quick before questions too, I should have given context at the beginning since we have a few new people on the call, just to note that homelessness issues throughout the city of Goleta, some of them can be addressed directly by the city, but if they're on either railroad property or Caltrans property, like the highways, we have to collaborate with UPRR, Lupe, and then the Caltrans to actually access that property. So that's why these conversations are really important, because we can't just go in and work with the people that are living on railroad tracks property. So with that, I'll open it up though for any questions for Lupe.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Irene.
Hi, Lupe.
Hi.
So did you get my my piece about the county supervisor going and they're talking about a memorandum? Is that what did you discuss that, the memorandum?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more of an agreement between law enforcement, our law enforcement and the local. So
But I think this is that, Irene. So so she said two things before you got on. She said that they're going to reinforce that fence right by your property, and that's going to make it stronger.
Yay!
Yeah,
different material. I know, right?
And the other thing that she said is something that we've never had, which is authority to actually move people along, as though because it is private property. So currently, for private property that exists in the city of Goleta, if someone is camping on someone's private property, the property owner can contact the sheriff, and if there's an enforcement letter in place, the sheriff can move the person along without any, there's no intervention. There's no, they don't even necessarily need ongoing permission, or it's ongoing. They don't need immediate, they don't have to call anybody. They can just do it. And what you're saying, Lupe, is that that authority, that sheriff's authority would extend now to UPRR property. This is something that, for 6 or 7 years that I'm aware of has been something that's been on the city of Goleta's agenda. It doesn't solve the cleanup issue, but if there's debris and trash and things, that's something that the railroad can easily take care of at some point. It's always much more complicated if there are people there. And so this would allow for law enforcement, it would allow for our outreach people to collaborate, to really get people, it gives them an incentive to take advantage of our programs.
And so it also, people also get, most people, not everybody, because God knows I don't have everybody, but at least people get the message that they are going to be bothered by us going, because again, they get used to, unfortunately, our, we might not be back for a month, or we might not be back for a few weeks, versus no, they're going to come more regularly to ask you to leave the property since it's private property.
Well, so we have a very collaborative relationship with our law enforcement, and many people on this call have relationships with the people that are currently living on UPRR property. If they're told they can't live there anymore, then our folks can work with them to help them find a more appropriate place to live. So that's really what we're about.
Perfect. Okay, I will get that over to you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lupe.
Thank you, Lupe. Any other questions?
I have 2 more questions really quick. The railroad, Lupe, at one point you said that 15 feet from the tracks is trespassing.
No, what about anytime, no, and I'll explain. Anytime you're on railroad property, you're trespassing. 25 feet away from edge of rail is danger zone. That's like what we call the red zone. So if you roughly mark from the edge of the rail 25 feet, and in some cases we don't have 25 feet, in some cases we do. So it's not always consistent, but anytime you're on the railroad property, that's trespassing. Even if you're on the edge, it does not matter. It's still considered trespassing.
And there was an article in the news press, in the Independent, about a year ago. It says that the railroad was planning on putting up some kind of virtual barrier. Did you ever hear that?
I think we looked at some, and I'll be honest with you, that some of those haven't panned out the way we wanted to. We actually piloted some of them where we were having a lot of trespassing, and the equipment, it works when you're not a linear warehouse. It works like when you're a square, because you can, our linear ability, and also something on the track is not as level. So they had like little robots, and then they'd have like a speaker that would come out that say, you're trespassing, get off. That really works best for us when you're in a square. It did not have the same impact when you're in this linear configuration with bumpiness. We don't always have a smooth surface next to the, with the ballast and stuff. So there were some challenges with it. I'm sure it'll get better, but we did test a few. Well, and to be quite frank, Irene, we did this for cargo theft. That's what it wasn't so much homeless as much as it was cargo theft. We were looking at everything, technology available, anything. And that's what, and we just, it wasn't as effective as we wanted it to be for cargo theft or any trespasser, because obviously they shouldn't be there. But that's what it was. That's why it was done. I was part of that study. And like I said, the technology had some challenges because we couldn't provide a good path for this robot to be able to make the signal work with the satellite. I mean, it was much more complicated, but it'll eventually get better. There may be something, with drones, there may be some stuff that comes in the future. But right now it's still not, it doesn't give us what we need, in terms of immediacy. So, and remember these citations, that's the other thing for citations, are misdemeanor cites. And so sometimes LA is starting to look at these differently now. The only city I know that's doing something very different is the city of Anaheim, and they are focusing on people that have had multiple trespassing incidences. It tends to be more tied in Anaheim to drugs, illicit, and so what they're doing is they have a special court that they go through, and I think Santa Barbara County years ago had something similar in terms of after you do, I mean, some of these people had 50, 60 citations that were continually dismissed. So that's the thing that I think is again, it has to work through the courts, but they have, and they give people a choice. In this case, you go to jail or you go to treatment, but you have to stay in treatment. You cannot just check in and leave. You that's your choice, but you have to stay there for a certain period of time, like 9 months. So it really focuses on trying to heal the problem as well as reduce the neighborhood impact of that situation. So it's a, like I said, I think they're still testing it, and they've had success with people. Some people have chosen jail, 6 months, 6 months or 180 days or something like that. But some people have chosen to go the route of trying to get better. So, and they haven't been legally challenged. That was the problem. A lot of these programs had been challenged by other groups, and they came to an agreement with these groups ahead of time that this was a pilot. And again, it was, and they've had success with it. But again, it is tied more to people that are in communities and potentially selling drugs and trespassing, but not on the railroad property, on public property. So I just mentioned that because I know it's interesting the way they've approached it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lupe.
You're welcome. And I have to bow out because I have to go find your fence date, Irene. So I'm going to get on to my other call. All right.
I'm holding you to it.
All right. But thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Lupe.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, everyone. So at this point in the meeting, we typically will go around for updates from our different service providers, starting with the city of Goleta, and then at the end, we'll open it up for questions and concerns from community members. So we'll start with Chuck to just share general updates from the city of Goleta if there's anything you haven't already covered.
Yeah, it's more of an apology at this point. Normally at this stage, every month, I like to give a data update of where we are in the city of Goleta, and we are in the process of transitioning to a new data system. So I don't have good enough data that I want to report it out. So my hope is by next month to have more accurate data.
Thank you, Chuck. I will just share briefly too from some of our outreach providers. In the last 2 weeks, we had a decent amount of rain for our community. And so the county and Good Samaritan Shelter collaborate every rainy season to open the warming centers on nights when there is a rain forecast or below 35 degrees. And so we had a couple of nights that the warming centers were activated. And so one of our partners from the team that actually works along the creek beds, outreaching to homeless encampments there, isn't able to be here today, but he shared that they were able to track all of the different creek beds throughout the region to make sure that there was no one in danger there. They actually had one woman who, because of the rains, was finally open to moving into shelter, and then from shelter they were able to move her into La Posada and the cabins project. So just some good news there, and we're grateful to all of our outreach teams for helping to spread the word about the warming centers when they're open.
I just want to add to that, Mayor Perotti has long wanted a warming center in Goleta. That hasn't materialized, but what we are looking at is possibly using the Ivy Community Center as a warming center. So the conversations are happening between Good Samaritan and the Ivy Community Services District to make that happen. And that's pretty darn close. So I'm happy about that.
Thank you, Chuck. So with that, let's go around to all the different homelessness services providers just to hear updates from what they've been doing. And we'll start with the Good Samaritan ARPA team that does general outreach. Jose, are you able to share an update? Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, I'm actually working with a client right now.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Jose with Good Samaritan ARPA Outreach. Specific areas last week, we visited the Garage Park, Stove Grove Park, Alameda Park, and some of the Ivy parks. We did encounter over 30 people last week. We were also able to get a family, three little kids and two parents. We were able to relocate them to a shelter, bridge house in Lompoc. So that was a great thing last week. We also have done two referrals to DMB, two referrals to Social Security, and we continue to pass out our hygiene bags. We passed out over 30 hygiene bags last week, over 4 cases of water, and we continue to work with our clients, engaging them into services or anything they might need in order for them to get document ready. That is it for ARPA.
Thank you, Jose. Let's go to our CityNet homeless outreach team.
Hi, good afternoon. If anyone on the call doesn't know me, my name's Ellen Antonioli. I work for Goleta with CityNet. Last week was really busy. We enrolled 4 new people. I think most of them we met through the Faro Center, and we have another enrollment this week. We did outreach to Elwood tracks like 3 or 4 times, the tracks along Old Town multiple times, the Marketplace, Johnny D. Wallace. And we also were at Showers of Blessing. I think this week the focus is going to be San Jose Creek, where it kind of meets the train tracks by the storage units, and to go back out to the area by Los Carneros. We also have been implementing our new Sprinter van, like the big woman's van, into our outreach. So we used that a couple times last week. A lot of transports to social services, doctors, job interviews. I would say the biggest trend right now with folks we're enrolling is people who are able-bodied and want to work. They're doc ready, but they just can't maintain a job while they're unsheltered. So a lot of people are waiting for shelter beds to open right now. That's kind of the dominating trend, just explaining to people that we're doing the best we can and they're on the wait list, and just kind of providing them food and hygiene supplies in the meantime. We've had people give up their dogs, hoping that'll move shelter faster for them. We also have had medical issues kind of been increasing in severity, being compounded by being outdoors. So a lot of medical transports. Unfortunately, ECMs can't visit people like out at camps. So I've been doing my best to manage medication and appointments and testing and stuff for folks, but it's been really busy.
Thank you, Alan, and appreciate the update. It's hard news. But hope everyone heard that this is an ongoing need through our communities, that we need more beds, actually, places for people to go. So let's go to the safe parking team. See Cora on the call.
Hello, everybody. Yes, between regular safe parking and the SURF program, we do continue to do outreach, and we hit the hot spots, and then we also hit places other than the hot spots, and we are responding to requests. We are, we're helping people with funding in order to. The SURF program is actually helping people with a little bit of funding for their RVs and getting them operational. And then our program is really, really actively working with people, trying to help them increase their income. That's kind of our goal right now, is to get people to have an increased income to, hopefully be able to, once housed, be able to maintain that housing. So that's kind of what we're doing right now.
Thank you, Cora. I see Sarah from the county on the call. Do you have any updates you want to share from the county?
Hi, Landon. Thank you. No updates at this time, other than we do have our veteran case conference upcoming tomorrow. We are hopeful to have a new CES HMIS list that we'll be making available to providers and for checks. I'm sure happy news. It will include cities. It is not. It is going to be pulling data from our December list, and then including new data from our most recent list. It's sort of a hybrid. So it's not perfect, but I think it will be providing a much better snapshot of our current system, and looking forward to continuing to make refinements to it as we move along in the process. But the migration continues. We are waiting for the release of information, the ROIs to be migrated from our old system to our new system. That's still in process. And the vulnerability assessments, those will be migrated later in the spring. Lots happening, still in progress, but working towards that, ultimately getting that all dialed in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So those databases are how all of the different nonprofits and government agencies work together to try and keep track of all the different people experiencing homelessness by name throughout our county. So we're grateful for that work. I see Jean from Behavioral Wellness. Do you have any updates you want to share?
I don't really have any updates. 37 of the 40 BUL cabins at La Posada are occupied, and that's about it.
Thank you, Jean. Deputy Warden.
I have no particular updates other than the past month. I'm sure everyone's aware there's been 2 large clearings in what you would call Nolita, the unincorporated area between Santa Barbara and Goleta. So there's been a lot of movement there. They cleared what's known as Granny's Field. It's a large vacant lot owned by the school district between Patterson and Turnpike. And then Union Pacific also cleared the tracks along there. So there's probably about 10 camps with multiple occupants that were cleared. So those people are in movement. And also had a lot of citizen communication about the 217 area along the tracks, the dead end of Dearborn, because that area has been repopulated. So Chuck and Outreach and I have been working on that, but those are the only particular updates.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. All right. I think we've gone through everyone we typically do. So let's go ahead and open it up for any questions or concerns from community members.
Quick question.
Yes.
This would be Nolita again, but on the north side of Goleta, up at the Calreal Road that's not used for traffic much, that has a lot of not abandoned, but dilapidated RVs, trailers, and such. I've reported it for several months now. It did get cleaned up for a moment, but now there's like 4 or 5 that are back already. And there's trash everywhere, but one of the biggest concerns is they're all using gasoline. They all have gasoline stored outside in tanks. They all have propane tanks outside. And you're right at the base of, well, it doesn't matter where you are. You're out in the middle of nowhere, which could start a fire in seconds. Is there anything you can do to get that area cleaned up and just maybe block those roads? Because they don't really service. They service a few farms. Maybe they could get keys. But if those roads could just be blocked off, because it kind of dead ends, and the dead end to the north used to be full of, like 5 or 6 right there. But as the road comes down, I call it south, but you would call it east. There's multiple ones in there where there's just trash heaps. And like I say, I've seen as many as 10 5-gallon tanks with generators set up there to power all the dilapidated RVs. Seems like a little bit of a fire hazard to me.
So I can start the response, Mr. Rembo. So you're right, it's not in the city of Goleta, but we did get quite a few requests from the community to address it. And between the sheriffs and the Safe Parking, New Beginning Safe Parking Program and the county's homeless services, there's been a lot of action. My understanding was that it was clearer than you're currently reporting, but maybe Connor, do you have any kind of update? Do we know what the current status is? Sorry to put you on the spot.
It was cleared. They did a clearing. I guess they worked out an agreement with one person. I'm not quite clear about because I was involved with it, but there's one person that's still staying there with a large fifth wheel, kind of in the far eastern end of the dead end. I was told there was an agreement worked out with that person that they were getting into safe parking, but needed to fix that to get into it. But other than that, it's been cleared.
So that's the word I've heard, Mr. Rembo.
Yeah, I
conflicting
rode my
information?
bike through it just 2 days ago, and it's by nowhere cleared.
Okay.
And it did get cleared a couple months ago. I don't know who the city or who hired the person to come in. It looks like they cut down some of the shrubs and started to take away some of the trash. But there's whoever did that job didn't about a 70% job because it's still there. But there is at least, I'd say 6 or 7 sitting there right now, all dilapidated, unable to move. The one at the very west end has the largest RV, and he has a Prius, and it seems like he just leaves camps there and goes to work and comes back. And the rest are on the east end are just they're just completely torn up, dilapidated. They're not getting repaired. They're not going anywhere. They're not getting fixed. These people have no money. They have no insurance. They have no license. They have no registration. They have no right to be parking where they are, and they're a fire hazard.
So again, this is outside of the city of Goleta. We are very concerned as you are. I'm going to report this conversation to the county. I know that the supervisor, it's in Joan Hartman's district. I know that she's been concerned about it. It's unfortunate that it's been reoccupied. So we will follow up on your concerns.
Is there a way we can block that road? No, there's no public use. There's just a little private use to access some of the fields for the ranch. But beside that, where that street, Calvary Ave, where it meets right at the bottom of Farron, it's blocked and locked and gated. And if we could just continue that, and block the access in other areas, unless, and then give a key to the local farmer. There's probably 3 people that own that land up there. So it's not like it's going to be a lot of coordination. But they're there, they're always there. And I go there and I look at it, and I live up down in Elwood Canyon, and I just look at open gas containers, propane tanks everywhere, outdoor barbecues. And we know that the people that are living in those areas are not really paying attention to fire hazard. It's not like there's not issues with drug abuse and this and that community. And it just takes one mistake and everybody's going to go, why didn't we get those people out of there?
As I said, I'll be reporting it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, Mr. Rambo, this is Cora with Safe Parking. And I do know that our SURF program is actively working with many people that are out there, but I'll just touch base with them and I'll just, see, what's exactly happening and see if there's anything else that they can do on their end.
If it's illegal, I'm just kind of puzzled. Like if I go park there, I have a camper and I go pay at Refugio and El Cap, and I reserve a site 6 months ahead of time and pay my money. So I can just go camp anywhere and you guys aren't going to do a thing. I would be towed if I did this.
So this is actually an ongoing issue, and not just in our county, but throughout the entire state of California, is that vehicular homelessness has sort of exploded, particularly since 2021. And so what we're having trouble with is that if people get ticketed, there are different restrictions depending on the different areas. In some cases, they only have to move whatever 20 feet. But in other areas, even if they get ticketed, then they end up just having to move to a different neighborhood. And so because of that, it ends up being a lower priority for enforcement because there isn't an effective way to enforce it. So this is why our county has gotten this large grant for the safe parking program to be doing major outreach. So this just started last year, that they have significantly beefed up their program and have more resources to actually help people get towards housing. But it is going to take some time before that actually takes effect. But this is kind of an ongoing issue statewide, is that vehicles parking is an increasing issue.
So they can't just be towed.
So I don't know the specifics of what the policies are out there. I do also want to be mindful of the time, make sure we have time for other questions as well.
It's just that, and again, it goes back to the fire hazard. Like, I don't really care if they park there. I really don't. But if they're going to be carrying around, running generators, dilapidated, running fuel and gas and barbecues, and, the place is just scattered with litter, like it is a huge fire issue. On
Right.
that alone, I would think you could do something.
So thank you, Mr. Rambo. And so we will report this, as Chuck mentioned, to county directly, and then Cora will be checking with her safe parking team. But we do very much feel your concern around fire hazard. So thank you. Were there other questions or concerns from the community?
I have a concern.
Go ahead.
It's similar. It's the encampment on Elwood Station Road and the tracks. It's gotten
Okay.
big, but it's under dry brush, dry, dead eucalyptus trees. And there are more and more people going there. And I'm not sure the fence is the answer. I think that because there are other access, there's at least 3 other access roads to this encampment. It's very well traveled. Can't we just convince the railroad to just cut those dead trees down, and then the encampment will not be accessible, or at least not a hiding place? Because I've been bugging Lupe for a long time to get this fence up, and they got the fence up and it got cut down. So I think the issue is the encampment on the tracks. That's the issue. And it's a dangerous one, just like Mr. Rambo was saying. And that's why I wrote to Joan Hartman, and she came out and they had the memorandum set up. So I don't know. That's all I have to say. Oh, and also,
so Irene, at this meeting, Lupe agreed, and it now sounds like there will be a law enforcement agreement with the railroad. This is a kind of historic change.
Yeah.
Which means that the sheriffs now, if you see somebody on the railroad tracks, you can contact the sheriffs and they will come and remove them.
Well,
I mean, that's a bit as long as I can remember, that never was allowed. That because they were on Union Pacific property, we couldn't send law enforcement to do anything. In this case, she told us at this meeting that they're going to sign an agreement with law enforcement. This is a major change. And so we are, my sense is that we will see encampments cleared throughout the county on the railroad tracks.
Good. Also, I think the city of Goleta needs to set up a shopping cart ordinance that several stores have a shopping cart staying on their property, and they've made it so that they can't come off. But there are so many shopping carts on Hollister Avenue and on my street, and fortunately they're not filled. They've been filled in the past, but they're just all over the place. The city should give out backpacks or those little push carts that they don't have to take the shopping carts, because it's hard to get them. The manager of my park, the owner of my park, comes and takes the shopping carts back. And I think it'd be easier to do something else.
Paul, I know you know the answer to this question. If you could comment.
Sure. Well, so we do have a shopping cart program. It's run through Dan Rowell. Irene, if you can send me an email if they're there. We have them picked up generally within about 24 hours. And they have a program worked out with a lot of the businesses that have shopping carts. Sometimes they're not aware of them. As you know, it can happen daily. These people use them to carry their groceries all the way there and back. So like I said, don't be afraid to email me when they come up, and I'll do my best to get them out of there expeditiously as I work with Dan Rao.
And I've actually reported, Irene, so in the chat, Landon put a link. I've actually reported shopping carts on this link before myself, and they're gone very quickly.
Yes.
On Landon's link.
If you go to the chat.
Oh, okay.
It's the we call it City Assist. It's that portal, and you can report shopping carts, and then our city staff follows up.
It'll go directly to city staff. That's correct, Chuck, and that may even expedite it even more, Irene. But like I said, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'll do my best to work through the process and get it handled.
Okay.
Okay.
And one other thing, not because I'm really annoying sometimes. I think the city of Goleta needs to look at a warming center. I mean, Isla Vista is a great place, but Isla Vista has its own population, and I've been begging. I mean, I know Paula is probably working on it because I've seen her in action, and we just need more. I know that we don't want to encourage homelessness in Goleta, but there are times when there needs to be a warming center.
Go ahead, Mayor
Go ahead,
Purdy.
Mayor Purdy.
Irene, I totally agree with you. I think Chuck and Landon and everyone that's been working with our homeless population and this group know how much I've been trying. It's really a matter of just finding the right organization that will be a host. I'm surprised with the amount. I'll just say it. I'm surprised there's a lot of community, a lot of churches, and I'm surprised that maybe one of them wouldn't pick this up and help us out just on the days that it's really, really extremely cold or raining.
Right.
I know there's more to it than just having a church say yes. I know then they have to get the volunteers. I mean, it's work. So, but this is something that, yes, I continue to, whenever I can, ask and keep asking that this it's very hard for me to sit in my house and be warm when
Yeah.
it's freezing outside or when it's pouring rain, and know that they're out there too. And it just bothers me. So
I know how much it bothers you, Mayor Perotti, so you don't have to tell me that. But one other thing, why is the Showers of Blessing not on this call? I do the towels for them, and I'm there at least a couple times a month, and they have everybody there. They know what's going on. I think it would be good to invite them. I don't know.
They are invited.
Oh, they
They
are
are invited, and you might let the staff know. I mean,
Okay.
they're a pretty lean organization. They may not have the staff time to come to a meeting like this because they're really dedicated to providing their sites every day of the week.
Okay.
And I've been in conversation with them about working with SB Act on a warming center here. I'm sorry, not a warming center, a pop-up day center once a week, and they're open to doing it. We're looking at budgeting for it, so we would like to see them in Goleta for sure.
Well, I don't think they have access to the internet at the shower sites. I don't know. Do they? Can they do
Yeah,
that?
I think they do.
Okay.
We all have it on our phones.
And I don't want us to get too much in the weeds. We do have another hand raised. Did you have any other questions, Irene, before we go to the next
No.
person?
Sorry for all the
Thank-
time.
No. Thank you for the questions. Go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted to thank Safe Parking because one of our long-term, like really long-term guests came last Tuesday and said that Safe Parking had found a place for him and inside. And that's really a blessing because he was starting to show a little bit of some signs of dementia. And so we're just very thankful. So thank you, Cora.
Thanks, Mary.
Yay, that's great. Happy. Very happy.
Good to hear some good news. Any other questions or concerns from the community in our last few minutes? All right. Not seeing any. Chuck, is there anything else that you wanted to check in about while we're all together?
No, thank you. Thank you for the meeting.
Okay.
I just
well,
want to. I have one more thing. I wrote a piece about Joan Hartman coming to the tracks, and we have a great picture of all the people that were there. And I wrote a piece, but I want to have it reviewed, so I'm going to send it to Chuck.
Great.
That's great.
Newshawk will probably print it if you want to send it to them.
I want to send it to the Independent.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Well, we hope to see some of you next Thursday at the Homelessness Standing Issues Committee meeting at 4 p.m. and then the following Monday, 2 weeks from today, at the Faulkner Gallery. So thank you all for being here. Have a good rest of your week.
Have a great day, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you, everyone.